In 1930, Mikhail Bulgakov burned the draft manuscript of the Master and Margarita. Threatened by the Stalinist regime, he could not see a future as a writer. These events took place in the Soviet Union at a time of widespread political oppression. Stalinist leadership felt especially threatened by the intelligentsia. Censorship thwarted Bulgakov at every turn. Several of his plays in the 1920s were banned from production, considered too controversial and provocative. In a letter to a friend, Bulgakov stated, "The stove has already become my favourite editorial board." Here his sense of absurdist humour echoes fervently. "I like her because she, without rejecting anything, with equal willingness absorbs receipts from the dry cleaner, unfinished letters, and even, oh shame, poetry." By 1930, he had little hope of becoming a successful writer. However, his resilience remained. He started rewriting the book from 1931. The story is set in two equally compelling worlds. The first, Moscow in the 1930s. The second, Jerusalem at the time of Christ. Soviet Russia is where the narrative of the book begins. It clearly illustrates the suffocating atmosphere and absurdist nature of Soviet Stalinist rule. The narrative begins with Wolan, aka Satan, arriving in Moscow. He has several followers, including the iconic, foolishly funny, fat cat, Burmov. Satan and his crew ravage through Moscow. The second narrative arc is set at a time where we follow the events around the time of Christ's execution. The main character, Pontius Pilate, a Roman governor who presides over the trial of Jesus. The novel addresses many themes both apt to the historical context and to everlasting events. It raises many profound questions based around human nature, atheism, totalitarianism, and the search for an existential meaning in an absurd world. One theme running throughout the novel is of good and evil and its ambiguity. The characters who are portrayed are ambivalent towards evil. They see what can happen and accept it as normal. These times in which the novel was set were times of change and hardship. After ongoing atrocities, oppressive policies, the Tsar and his royal family were ousted from power. In 1918, the entire Russian royal family were executed at gunpoint. These events give context to the novel. The revolutionaries, Lenin and Stalin, may have felt they were doing good. However, the lines can quickly blur. As Alexander Solzhenitsyn poetically illustrated in his seminal work, The Gulag Archipelago, where he wrote, "The line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being." Good and evil are not separate entities. Take Woland as an example. He is not portrayed as simple evil. He is a complex character. Although he takes great joy from causing numerous fiascos throughout Moscow, he doesn't engage in evil acts for its own sake. He has a code. He targets sinful people, the materialistic, the greedy. As we see in a magic show put on by Woland, he is the voice of criticism and is cynical in the beliefs of the crowd who attend. The crowd represent the new idealistic Soviet state, who believe that an era of prosperity has begun. Woland rejects this theory. He sees the flaws within us. In this novel, Woland is a reminder to the people of Moscow that they too will be the puppets in the show of life and death. In the magic show performance, we see the audience is used to validate Woland's views. At one point, money starts raining down and the spectators start fighting. This trick reveals an aspect true to human nature. The citizens reveal their selfish and individualistic tendencies, which oppose the ideal of the time, a united, communal society at peace with each other, therefore highlighting the absurd contradictions within Soviet Russia. Later in the show, Belanska, a theatre manager, tries to reinstate a sense of order by addressing the audience, explaining the events in rational terms. Afterwards, Krokov, Woland's right-hand man, gets frustrated with Belanska's lack of faith in the surreal. Consequently, he asks the public what he should do with him. They call for his head. Burmoff, the comical cat, is at hand and jumps up and slices Balanska's head off. For the second time in the novel, someone literally loses their head. Metaphorically and physically, they are men who choose to rationalize the current events and use reason to explain everything. These decapitations show the weakness of men and stresses the constraints on human knowledge. We are fools to believe we can understand everything through reason alone. This scene helps illustrate the next theme in the novel, absurdity, which we will discuss in the next video.